Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. We're all here, we're all talking football, we're talking the games from what feels like 2 weeks ago, but might not have been 2 weeks ago, but maybe it was. The games from last week, which include some FA Cup flavoured football, and upcoming international games. So we've got it all. Everything you could possibly hope for. While I've got you in before we get started, please do consider subscribing wherever you get your podcasts, which now includes Spotify. If you're a Spotify user, you can subscribe and get your podcast from Spotify. Right, let's get going. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the football podcast.
Recording in progress.
Paul, anything to say about that?
Well, she's never wrong, is she? She's always spot on the money when it comes to telling us that we're recording. So, welcome along, gang. You know what time it is. We know what time it is. That's right. It's football talk. Let's get some piping hot round ball action in your ears and mouth holes, I suppose.
Face balls.
Yeah. Matt, loving that there. He was a big fan. Yes, that's correct. It's a football podcast, so we'll give you some championship flavoured nonsense, and then obviously that's from last week. But then moving on to next week, it's not championship flavoured nonsense, it's international flavoured nonsense. So there's all that to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen.
Delicious, delicious flavour. Right, where are we going first?
Well, I believe we've got half of last week's games. Hang on, no, wait a minute. Got half of 2 weeks ago's games to tidy up, and then last week's mix of cup and league games.
Just to confuse that further, it's the games for us that were 2 weeks ago that in actual real time were last week, but now we're talking about this week. That's the right way through, right?
Yeah. If you follow that, leave us a comment and you'll probably win a prize. So
Mentor will be knocking on your door, right?
And she tells two friends, and they tell two friends, and they tell two friends. Just as a quick recap, the first half of the week finished. Paul was a no-show. It was a 3-2-1. Myself with 1 point for the week so far. Stu with 2 points. And Mr. Matthew Moore winning half of the week with 3. Let's find out if that can all get turned around. So, first on the docket, which we're going to have to cast our minds back into the archives, is a little game that I like to call Birmingham. Put my teeth in. Birmingham versus the mighty Middlesbrough. Paul, any dramas?
I suppose technically you could argue that yes, as Borough did miss a penalty in this game. I believe, as we were recording, they may have gone 1-0 up, from what I can remember.
They did indeed.
They ended up running out 2-0 winners. Now, the first goal, I believe, was credited to Aaron Connolly.
Correct.
But it seemed to come out that it might actually have been an own goal, but I think it's still being credited to Aaron Connolly.
According to the BBC,
so we'll go with Aaron Connolly.
That is
scored the
case.
The second goal was scored by Folarin Balogun.
I can tell you this much: one member of the podcast will be very happy about that. Let's find out who that member is. So, Stu, you had Middlesbrough down for a 2-1 win. So close. Still 1 point there. But you pick up an extra point by having the aforementioned Balogun. 2 points for you, sir. Matthew Moore, you also went with a 2-1 victory to Middlesbrough. Unfortunately for you, sir, that is where your scoring ends, as you didn't get either of the Middlesbrough goal scorers. You are not on your own there, sir. I also did not get any of the Middlesbrough goal scorers. But I did predict Middlesbrough 2-0. So where I lost points in one area, I pick up 2 points for this correct score. Speaking of correct scores, we run over to Coventry versus Hull City. Stu, anything interesting from this game?
I mean, 3 points for Hull was the interesting point, I guess.
Woo.
I know, shock horror. Luckily, everyone's on YouTube. I could see you were all sat down beforehand, so it's fine. So Hull were in front after 4 minutes with a Richie Smallwood goal, and then doubled the lead with a Longman goal on the 28 minutes gone. So something to bear in mind for later on. The statistic to take away from this is obviously the score, but also the possession stats. 64% to Coventry, 36 to Hull. Hull still won 2-0.
Just goes to show you don't need to have the ball all the time to put it in the net.
Keep hold of that.
So, nothing predicted for Mr. Williams. Stu, you had a 1-1 draw. You did not predict either of the Hull City scorers, so unfortunately for you, sir, it's no points. Matthew, apparently you two have been conferring on your scores here. Another, same as Stu, 1-1 draw. You went with the wrong man. You went with the honey man. Fortunately for you, sir, it was the wrong man scored, and I followed in the same suit. I also predicted Honeyman to score, but I did put Hull down to win. So 1 point for me. Well, if there was goals in the first 2 games, let's find out what Nottingham Forest thought to that when they took on Queen's Park Rangers, or QPR to their friends. Matt?
Just the 3 goals for Forest in this game, and one for QPR. So a Forest 3-1 win. Again, biased. People might call me biased, but I thought it was quite a dominant performance by Forest. And then they went 1-0 behind, and you're like, balls. I can see which way this is going to go. And then, kind of in the second half, Jed Spence scored an absolute worldie of a goal just to stick another $1 million or 2 on his price tag.
You're welcome.
Ryan Yates, I mean, it might have gone off his left bollock, or the defender's left bollock.
You're not welcome.
And then Brennan Johnson finished it all off right near the end. So 3-1 win, I think deserved as well, even though former Forest manager Mark Warburton would protest against that.
Protest, really?
I don't think enough can be said about just how good that Spence goal was. It was an absolute twatter.
It dipped and bent, and it was a cracking finish. Because normally when you hear the fans go shoot, you're like, no mate, because it's going to end up in row Z or double Z or
it's normally a case of you hear shoot, immediately followed again about 10 seconds later by way from the opposite. But yeah, this was the shoot followed by fucking hell.
It's at this point in time that I feel I should have maybe had an official adjudication on the predicted scores, because Stu, you had a 2-2 score prediction. Doesn't get you the points, I'm afraid, but putting Johnson down to score one of the Forest goals will get you a point. Matt, you had funnily enough, a 2-2 prediction. However, no goal scorers, nothing. So it's no points for you, sir. And then there's that thing where I obviously put Forest down to win, and then I put Johnson down to score, so I got the 2 points. So do you remember how Matt was winning half the week with his 3 points, and I was losing the week with my 1 point? We finished the week with Matthew Moore on 4 points, Stuart Woodmansey with 5 points. Winning the week with 6. It's this guy, innit? I don't know what to say. What is a man supposed to do? Now then, how do you want to do the next bit? Because there is more games that were predicted. A later prediction, a rolled-in prediction.
Let's just dive straight into it.
Straight in. Interesting. So we've got some still in the Championship football, and then moving swiftly over to some FA Cup football. Hull City went up against Luton Town. Stu?
I mean, you say that. I mean, they didn't turn up until the 92nd minute, seemingly. No, that is harsh, actually. I was at the game, and Hull played well in patches for like 5 or 6 or 7 minutes at a time, and then just completely switched off. And then they did it again for 5 or 6, and then switched off. So I think actually we were texting amongst ourselves, and it was Matt that summed it up.
Question.
Go on.
Who is your number 17? Because he had a fucking nightmare.
7? Is that Doherty probably? The guy who got subbed off.
God, like the first 2 goals were 100%. They were just all his fault. I was like, that's your fault. Oh, and that one is also your fault. After I watched the highlights, I was like, Jesus Christ.
The second, I think it was the second goal, especially, where it was just pass it back to your keeper. Oh no, I'll play for a foul that wasn't a foul, and I just ended up looking like an idiot. So essentially, was the last man, got tackled, and just gave the goal away. I think the first goal as well probably could have. The goalkeeper should have probably done a lot better with that, because getting beat from that angle was just ridiculous. Anyway, Hull. The third was a belting free kick, but we'll get to that. So on 9 minutes, Adebayo scored for Luton, and it was 1-0 at half time. Then it got worse. So Harry Connick scored on 56 minutes, and then James Bree scored on 72. It was a hell of a free kick, to be fair.
I thought it was a bit cheesy. Like I'm here all week.
I left alone this week, and you just couldn't resist.
No, I couldn't resist. I wasn't going to leave that low-hanging fruit.
Well, he'll be waxing lyrical about that for ages.
Ah, damn. Anyway, so moving on. Then Tom Eaves scored on 90+2 for the consolation. So earlier I said about the possession stats. Hull played Coventry, had very little of the ball, won 2-0. Hull had 59% of the possession in this game and got their asses handed to them. So, yeah, Hull actually had 15 shots all in all, but only 4 were on target. So
now, Stuart, was it not earlier in the season that the ex-Hull manager said something about they can have all the possession they want, I'll take the 3 points?
Exactly right. Exactly right. But yeah, I was going to say, Matt summed it up best, I think, when we was texting at the weekend about Luton are kind of seemingly in a bit of almost a false position in the sense that they can absolutely defend and then counter, but everything else, not so much.
So, everybody needs to strap themselves in for this one. Paul was back with predictions. He was a week late with his goal scorer prediction for this game, and had Hull down to win 1-0. So there's no points there for you, Paul, but you're not alone. Because
the point of it was that we had an agreement on this, Stu. We had an agreement that as a favour to both Borough and Forest, Hull were going to do the business here. What happened?
I'll tell you exactly what happened, right? Because it's happened twice now. So, well documented on this podcast. New owner comes in, starting to do a lot right by the fans, including making the occasional game cheap tickets. He did it for Barnsley at home. City lost 2-0. He's done it for Luton at home. City lost 3-1. Now, I don't want to, prediction spoiler all this business, but he's also done it again for Good Friday for the Cardiff game. So just forewarning now, you might want to put us down to lose that week.
I personally think I know exactly what happened in this game because Stuart Woodmansey predicted his team to win 2-1. So that's that's exactly what's gone wrong here. Unfortunately, of the 3 goal scorers you predicted, none of them were the correct scorers, so no points for you either. Just going to skip out one of it. I had the same as Paul. I had a 1-0 win down for Hull, and no surprises, didn't get the goal scorer, so no points for me. Matthew Moore fired off his favourite prediction, his favourite score prediction of a Desmond. Obviously that didn't get you any points, Matt. Of the 3 Luton Town goal scorers, getting 2 of them right would probably get you a couple of points though. So 2 points there for Matt, whereas everyone else got nothing. And I can't imagine that's going to come up again anytime soon. Before moving on to FA Cup, what we're going to do is we're going to take a slither of a break. Because, we like to build tension. And we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a different breed of football in FA Cup football. So don't go changing and we'll be right back.
Recording in progress.
And just like that, they were back to talk FA Cup. And we're starting the FA Cup run with a Middlesbrough game. Middlesbrough went up against Chelsea. I think... I was about to say, I think we were all hopeful on this one. No, just me. Paul, anything from this one?
Just obviously they weren't able to get the job done. Sadly, I think it was even the most hardened Borough fan probably wasn't holding out much hope when they're going up against the reigning European and most recently world champion club. So they managed to keep them out for all of about 8 minutes, and then you could see it coming because they'd had one break down the left hand side, or well, their right, our left, where Mason Mount was just galloping into acres of space and then driving the ball across the box, but no one was there to be on the end of it. But the second time they wouldn't be denied, and sadly Romelu Lukaku was on the end of a ball deliciously played into the box that he tucked away for a 1-0 lead. And then the second came down the same side again, but the ball came out to Hakim Ziyech, who just cut inside and then flashed one past Joe Lumley from just outside the box. Question marks potentially on the keeper, as he didn't really position himself that well, but no one went to close down Ziyech. So 6-1 after the other on the keeper for me. But that's where the scoring ended. But it was a 2-0 Chelsea win.
Indeed, it was. Obviously, that means the end of Middlesbrough's FA run. Post mark for one's homies on that one. Obviously, Paul, your team has exited the tournament, but you managed to capitalise on this by predicting a Chelsea 2-0 win. 2 points for you. Unfortunately, no correct goal scorers, and that's where your points end. Stu, you had a 1-1, and neither of the scorers predicted. Obviously, nothing for Borough, and you didn't get either of the Chelsea goal scorers. Mr. Moore had Chelsea down to win, a little bit heavier than they did, so just a point for you. Obviously, when you put Lukaku down to score, you get a couple of points out of that. And as I mentioned at the start of this, I had Middlesbrough down to win. No points for me. No points. It's fine. Nottingham Forest, they went in for some little bit of FA Cup action, going up against Liverpool. Matt.
I see that Andy has taken over Stu's distaste for that particular club in his delivery of their name.
You know, we joke about on the podcast of the date of every year when Newcastle can no longer win any trophies, and unfortunately Sunday this year became the point where no one on the podcast can win any trophies this year. So unfortunately, Forest lost 1-0 to Liverpool with some, I think they more than held their own. I thought they played really well. Just before the Liverpool game, podcast favourite Philip Zinkenagel had a golden chance that either if he would have taken a touch or just thought about it a little bit more, I think Forest would have gone 1-0 up. And then I think we all commented on this at the time. Whoever was running the VAR has the ruler using talents of a primary school child, because how that, I look at it, it pops up every so often on either my Facebook or Twitter, or just on just when I'm on the BBC thing doing research for this Dear podcast, and I see that damn green line, and I'm like, there's something going. That just wasn't right. But yeah, so Jota got a sneaky little goal that was possibly offside. Definitely offside. To take the 1-0 win, and it was like, it's always good when you've got a moral victory, and you're like, yeah, thanks for your pity. Great, thanks. Go and get your wonky ruler looked at. But yeah, 1-0 win for Liverpool. And then chaos as chaos has gone on from there, as people whinge about having to travel down to London. So, a good chunk of their fans will be down there anyway, so I don't know what they're whinging at. 1-0 win to Liverpool.
That game marked a first in this house as well, because it's the first time I've ever been told off for shouting at the TV when it wasn't Hull or England. So you have that distinction, Matt. I was fuming about the offside. It was definitely offside.
Matt, do you want to dispute the Jota goal? Should we chalk it off on the podcast?
Well, by the laws of the game, it was given as a goal. So we can't deny the
interesting
the rule.
Unfortunately, in some ways, everybody predicted Liverpool to win this game. Fortunately, in other ways, that means everybody gets a point. Nobody got it correct. A 2-1, a 2-1, a 2-0 from Paul, a 3-0 from Stu, a 4-1 from Matt, and a 2-1 from myself gets everybody a point. The only person to get the goal scorer, ironically, is Mr. Matthew Moore. If anybody's been following along, maybe with a calculator or anything, you'd think it was his birthday this week, because myself and Stu are drawing for last this week with 1 point. Paul, you did 3 times as good as me and Stu by getting 3 points. Matthew Moore doubled that by getting 6 points to win the week. Congratulations, Matt. Well done to you, sir. That's all of the games talked about, all the reviews done for the games. Now then, you've got a choice to make here, Mr. Williams. Do you want to talk about international football, or do you want to mix it up, jump over to the news? Your choice.
Well, there's only a couple of international games this week, as England don't have any World Cup qualification related games to take care of. So as there's only a couple, we'll do the international games now, and then we'll cover all the happenings in the world of football this week to end the podcast with.
Beautiful stuff. Okay, starting off with England versus Switzerland. As this is everybody's team, nobody will necessarily go last. I have made a poor prediction with the best of my abilities. I can guarantee that, like all of the people I've predicted to score, don't play for those teams anymore. But hey, when left to my own devices, it's the best I can do. Stu, I'm going to come to you first for your prediction for an England-Switzerland.
I will roll out Old Faithful in terms of England predictions on this one at the very least, and go for England 2, Switzerland 0, Kane and Sterling to score.
Well, luckily for me, Stu has confirmed that Kane is playing for England, because I've gone with a 1-0 to England with Kane to score. Matt?
I'm going to go with a 2-0 win, and probably for the same reasons why you gents could really struggle to name a Switzerland player. And with Kane and Abraham to score.
Okay, just leaves you, Paul. What do you think to this?
What have we had so far?
Stuart and Matt conferring and coming up with 2-0s and just a 1-0 from me. Lots of Kane. Need to send in the Undertaker.
I'll go for a 1-1 draw, because Switzerland are a weird team. Like, they're always like, I'm pretty sure for a point they were like 4th in the FIFA rankings up to one point, because they had a really good qualification like for the last Euros or something like that, and they were ridiculously high up.
Do you know something? So, when I came down to predict this, I was like, for some reason, I'm pretty sure that Switzerland are classed as quite a good team, which is why I only went with 1-0 to England.
Yeah, they're one of those like, I don't know if it's like the way they coach or something like that, but like they're annoying. They manage to stay in games and stuff like that. So I'll go for a 1-1. Obviously I'm going to have to go for Kane to score, because he's basically the Lewis Grabban of the England team.
He wishes he was that good.
Oh, here we go. And then, Christ, I've made a run for my own back now. I have to pick a Swiss player. I'll go for Shaqiri.
Okay. That is the England-Switzerland football game predicted to its completion. England go up against the Ivory Coast in their other game. Let's flip it around a bit. Matt. England, Ivory Coast.
I'm doing my research as we speak. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Interesting.
Zaha to score for the Ivory Coast. England. Jack Grealish to score for England. I know, terrible, but you know, I'm spreading it around.
Wow. This was one of those where I was like, now is this a situation where the Ivory Coast aren't that great, so they're not going to roll out like their A team? But then I was like, so I went with England 2-0. And then we're just like, I'll just put down the first two people that spring to mind, which is obviously Kane and Rashford.
Oh, stop.
Damn it.
There's no Marcus Rashford in the squad.
No. I'm doing so well. Right, leave it with me. I'll come back. I'll come back to you on that one.
I don't know if he's still carrying a knock, or I don't think they're happy with the form that he's found. But
I think it's probably the latter. He's got absolutely no form at club level whatsoever. It's got to the point where he almost needs a change. Like, a lot of people are saying that like he might even be sold at the end of the season and stuff like that, or he might be looking for a transfer away. Something's definitely not right at the minute. But weird.
there's a lot of that though with United at the moment, and there's all the stuff that's come out about Paul Pogba's pretty much said that he's miserable there the entire time, and it started when Mourinho was there. So,
what about Mason Greenwood? No. Oh, this.
Oh no! Oh no!
This is going.
You can edit portions of the podcast, Kai. The views of CookieCast do not reflect the.
Oh, now I've lost. No. I'll
just say Sterling and I'm done with it.
Well, I was going to. And I was like, no, because then it looks like I've just copied it. Right, Sterling, there. Right, Stu.
I'm not really sure how I can follow that. So I will also pick England 2-0.
Lovely.
And clearly Harry Kane is one of them. But seeing as he let me down by not scoring and getting me any points against Borough, he can score here, and I will go for Mason Mount.
Good idea. Paul.
Well, as soon as Matt said the phrase 1-1, I immediately wanted to just shoot my hand up and say, can I make a suggestion here? His Ivory Coast goal scorer will be no one other than Wilfred Zaha, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say he probably can't name another player in the squad for the Ivory Coast.
Pepe, who plays for Arsenal, so there you go.
Shots fired.
Is Pepe in the squad?
I don't know, but he plays for him.
Brilliant.
As I consulted my iPad just there.
Excellent. I will go 3-1 to England.
Love it.
No surprises. I am also going for Wilfred Zaha to score for the Ivory Coast.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Pepe then, just to rub it in his face.
That would be excellent, but no, he's dog shit. So watch him get a hat-trick now or something. For the 3 England goal scorers, I can't believe Stu said that. I was going to go Mason Mount, so I'm going to have to stick with it. So I'll go for Mason Mount. I think Conor Gallagher might get a game and might score, because he's looked very good for Palace this season. And I think he's in the squad, so I don't think he'd call him up without wanting to give him a game. I'm going to go for Mark Gahey to score on his debut.
That's it. That's all the predictions for the week. In some ways, a quiet one. In other ways, a loud one. So that leaves the news and the any other business section. So let's talk this week in football.
Because we're talking about international football, and we start with the absolute hilarity of what happened earlier today, in fact, on the day of recording. So, massively dating this, as always, but today was the last day in which countries could submit bids to host Euro 2028 and Euro 2032. So, as far as 2028 goes, the FAs from England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland and Ireland had all clubbed together, put in a little bit of a joint bid, and up until around lunchtime, that was the only known bid. So it was looking pretty rosy. Apparently, by tea time, there were 4 official bids. I'm not quite sure who all of them were. However, one of them was Turkey. Fair enough. And yeah, one of them was Russia. As in, you know, those that are completely banned from all international sport at the moment ever. What the fuck are you doing, knobhead?
Do you reckon that's that way around it? Because they're like, well, if we're banned from like trying to qualify for stuff, if we just host one,
no,
they can't stop us from playing.
I think it's one deeper than that, because I think that the money from the Chelsea sale will definitely go to charity, and then definitely not be used to bribe any officials. And what will happen is they'll host it, but nobody will go and play. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, you're winners by default.
2 best words in the American language, default.
But I can't believe the absolute, like, one, just the absolute brass balls of it. But 2, surely you've got more important things going on at the moment. You know.
I'm taking it as a positive. It means if they're going to bid for the Euros in 2028, they're not going to blow us all to shit in the next few days with the kind of thing. So I'm going to take that kind of the positive side of it there.
That's true. Well, apparently the decision doesn't have to be made until September 2023. So, you know, strap yourselves in for about another 15 months or so first.
It's funny though, isn't it? I wonder if that's part of the negotiations for ending this war. So who's going to vote for us to host the Euros? If you vote for us to host the Euros, we'll all just we'll pretend this never happened. We'll sweep it all under the carpet and we'll just go home and finish it off there.
Well, like, I know there are more important things, especially directly related to that situation. But what happens if Ukraine qualify? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's feasible. It's just insane. But yeah, so that happened today. I did have to check that my TV speakers weren't broken when I heard that, because I can't get my head around that at all.
I just had a quick look at it there, and it did say that if the 5 nations that have put the joint bid together for the UK and Ireland, if they do get the right to host, they've said that they're gonna have to come to an agreement as to who qualifies automatically as the host, because they can only actually have 2 spots for host nations. So you'd imagine, do they just bite the bullet and just go, oh, right, give one to Scotland because they hardly ever qualify for stuff, and
Apologies
Republic of Ireland is shit or something like that. Surely you'd imagine that they'd just give them to the 2 lowest ranked nations on the proviso that you'd imagine that the higher ranked nations would have a better chance of qualifying through the normal means.
So what you're saying is then, even though they're hosting it, Ireland aren't going to be playing in the tournament?
How ridiculous would that be? If there's a tournament going on with a host nation that hasn't qualified for the tournament.
It'd be one of them statistics for a football quiz from, in 30 years or whatever. The other one that I couldn't remember has just come to me. It was Italy, but they're only put in for 2032.
But with England, you know what England are like? They definitely will, if they have to go through qualifying, they will 100% not qualify for it.
Oh, but bear in mind at this point, this is when is it not supposed to be expanding again? So it's already been expanded to 2014, and this is where they're thinking about expanding to 32.
No, God, all right. There's
which I'm pretty sure is basically all of mainland Europe. So it's not even a qualification tournament anymore. You're just automatically there.
You show up.
It's weird.
Like, we're here to play.
Yeah, I think that is ridiculous. I think there are like 50 nations in Europe, so you would still have to have qualification.
And definitely not pushed through by the UEFA representative from Scotland.
Yeah, exactly. The other big one that I'd seen today that's literally just come out within the last sort of hour or so since we started recording is sanctions have been relaxed somewhat against Chelsea so that their fans can purchase tickets for away matches, cup games and women's fixtures, but not home Premier League games. That's coming to us from Sky Sports.
It's still hilarious.
So obviously their home games will only be attended by pre-existing season ticket holders or people who had bought single game tickets well in advance.
Okay.
It does mean though that they'll be able to go to the FA Cup semi-final against Palace. So that's a shame because it would have been nice to have seen.
That one's all been sold by the FA, isn't it? So that money's all being kind of.
They'll be able to control that a lot more than any of the Premier League or Champions League games. Yeah, because they can physically control the sale of those, so they can make sure that people are either registered with the FA themselves, I would imagine, or they can at least control where the money goes.
The only way that they're getting around the away fans going to Stamford Bridge is the fact that all of the money for that is going straight to the Premier League. So
another one, just quickly, because I know we're running short on time, was that a referee that's been reffing since I believe the early 90s or the mid 90s potentially, Mike Dean is going to. Sorry, he started refereeing in the year 2000. He's going to retire from refereeing at the end of this season. Premier League referee Mike Dean will retire at the end of the 2021-22 season, where he's likely to continue as a full-time VAR official. Dean has been a Premier League official since 2000 and has gone on to referee 553 matches, issuing 114 red cards in the process. Wow. That's pretty much a red card every fifth game. That is insane. That is bizarre. He's certainly not everyone's cup of tea. He's a bit of a character, but I dare say he'll be missed by some.
Is it him as well that's like obviously the football referee clearly, but the one that turns up in like the quite sort of vocal part of the Tranmere Rovers staff?
Yep. Yeah, he was the one that was at the Tranmere the playoff game where he was on the post, like giving it rock all in the away end.
I wonder if he's ever been allowed to referee them. I've always wondered that about like when you register to be a ref, do you have to declare your allegiance so that you're not allowed to?
You do, aren't you?
I don't think you have to declare your allegiance, but you have to declare obviously where you're from or what you class as your hometown, and then they try and basically judge it based around that. But there's been a couple of times where they've argued that it's not really been that fair. Like, I'm pretty sure there's been loads of times in the past where Borough had a guy who's from Sunderland ref their games, and people are like, a couple of dodgy decisions definitely went against them there.
That's why you don't want people from London refereeing Man United games.
Yeah, that's kind of all I had for news. news?
Mine was all call-up stuff, and obviously the Rashford thing came out, so that's fine. I did want to just drop a little mention to podcast favourite Keane Lewis Potter, who has earned his first England under-21 call-up, and he now becomes the first Hull City player since Gary Parker in 1986 to do that. I mean, in fairness, if it makes him play better, when he returns to the squad, great, because he's not been that accurate of late. But if anything, it'll increase his asking price in the summer. So all good. But no, seriously, on a serious note, chuff for him because he's had a reasonable season so far. So it's nice that he's getting recognised for it.
I think you hear a lot of things of when players go on on international duty and they see players perhaps from the next league up, when they see the way they train and how they eat and stuff like that, even if it's for a week, they come back and oh right, okay then, that's how I should be doing it as opposed to what I'm doing now, and kind of come back, particularly nowadays with the kind of way nutrition goes. So hopefully he'll come back. With some kind of new ideas and good to go.
Well, if they can give him if they can give him stuff to make him grow an extra half a foot as well, that would be beneficial.
I think you're looking at the wrong spot there, Stu. You need to jump across the pond and pick a different shaped ball. They'll give you anything, they will. Does it hurt? I've got something for that. Anything else news-wise?
Nothing news-wise, but I have got a little sort of... Well, obviously we like to try and end with something that's a bit funny or uplifting. It's not uplifting or funny, but it is a bit odd. So, there is a follow on Twitter called squadnumbers.com, and there was something that flashed up on my Twitter feed the other day. In the 2001-2002 Premier League season, the number 36 for both Fulham and Middlesbrough was named Mark Hudson. While the pair never played with or against each other, they did line out for Huddersfield Town a decade apart, both wearing the number 4. So I thought that was a bit odd. You don't really see that often. Two completely different players who both had the same squad number for two completely different teams, who then play for the same team and have the same squad number. So just something a little kooky and weird, but
the Illuminati has entered the football arena.
Absolutely. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Games discussed, games predicted, news done, and a little bit of something to finish on. Thank you to these gentlemen here for taking me and you lovely people through the sometimes murky waters of the football world. Join us next week where we'll be talking international football, and I imagine getting back to the good old homegrown football that we're used to. Till then, we're going to say bye, and we will see you then. So there we go, what do you think to that? All the football in one place, whether it's Championship, FA, Cup, International, we've got it all. We've got all the news to boot. Thank you for listening along while I've still got you. Please do consider subscribing. You can also check out our website, thecookiecast.com, and that's how you get in touch with us. There's social media links, there's email links. Drop us a line, let us know what you think is going to happen in the upcoming games. And hey, who knows, we might read out your predictions on the podcast. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.